Here. Dr. Kulikowski? Here. Mrs. Soriani? Here. Mrs. Winkley? Here. Four, Mr. President. Thank you, Mrs. Sarabek. Would you please swear in our new board member? Mrs. Mitchell? Repeat after me. I state your name.
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
That I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and this state
and this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people.
so help me God.
So help me God.
I state your name.
Karen Mitchell,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I possess the qualifications
that I possess the qualifications
prescribed by law for the office of a member of a Board of Education.
prescribed by law for a member of the Board of Education,
Am not disqualified as a voter,
and not disqualified as a voter,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially, and justly
impartially, and justly
perform all the duties of that office
perform all the duties of that office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mrs. Saragaki. Congratulations to Karen Mitchell as our newest board member. You completed her role this evening.
Yes, thank you. And at this time, I'd like to introduce
Our superintendent, Dr. Jones.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to celebrate with your colleagues, your friends, and your family members who are recognized tonight for the achievement of tenure. Tenure is a reflection on the district's commitment to you and your commitment to the district. It is a mutual yes to being part of our community of learners seeking excellence together. Another way to look at this milestone is to view it as a relationship. It starts with an attraction, including things we have in common. Then it is a process of getting to know each other better. Over time, we develop a shared history, and we bring out the best in each other. Eventually, if all continues to go well, we make a public commitment to the journey forward together. Tonight, we will have cookies and cider rather than cake. But we do need to reflect and celebrate that we have made a match. We agreed that students are our priority, and we will do whatever it takes to support each child. So congratulations on achieving tenure. It is an accomplishment that reflects your professional expertise and your deep commitment to our students. Congratulations. And now, I would like to introduce our newly tenured staff. Can Justin Fiore please come up?
I'd like to start off by asking Avery Betcher to come up, please. Before I get started talking a little bit about Avery, I'd like to congratulate everyone who's receiving tenure this evening. It's a wonderful opportunity for our community to come together to recognize the hard work for so many of you over the years. Avery has worked at School 1 for the last couple of years as one of our speech therapists. She's done an amazing job in the classroom, working with teachers, pushing in, and seeing children one-on-one and in small groups. Avery's always looking for what's cutting edge and new, whether it's a new app for the iPad or bringing an Apple TV into the classroom and into her room. She's always looking for ways that she can make the learning experience for her students that much better. The students love to go and see her when it's time to go to speech. Oftentimes the teachers of special areas will have to give that phone call up to the teacher in the classroom, just as a quick reminder, but oftentimes her students are already running down there to see her. So she's done a wonderful job, and we're happy to have her, and congratulations. I'd like to now ask Rena Martoch to come up. So Rena works as a Spanish teacher not only at School 1, but at Bronner School, and it's taken Rena a little longer than some others to receive tenure, so it's only fair that we have two principals talk a little bit about coverage. So when I said that it's taken a little longer, Rena has been on the 7-year track to receive tenure. Rena has, before becoming a tenure track teacher, she had opportunities for maternity leaves, and she took every single one of them. And every time the teacher came back from maternity, even though there's times she thought they weren't going to. So her voyage to tenure has taken a little longer than some.
I think the best compliment I could personally give to a teacher is that I'd be happy if my own children were in their classroom, and my boys have had the opportunity to be in Rena's classroom when it's Take Your Child to Work Day. And my son, who's now in 7th grade, when he was in Rena's classroom, said, I learned more in 40 minutes in that Spanish classroom than I did in the last 5 years in his classroom. So there's no better compliment I could give, and I don't think there's any better compliment a student can give. And that's really true of all of our kids. They truly get so much out of Rena's teaching and the experiences in her classroom. They're just so student-centered and fun and engaging, and kids feel so confident speaking Spanish, which is really an amazing gift that Rena gives to them. So congratulations.
Was for me. So. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jocelyn DeBresco, I'm the principal of Park Middle School. First, I'd like to extend my congratulations to everyone receiving tenure tonight who was able to be here and also who was not able to be here. Congratulations. It's been a long road, but you've all really earned it and deserved it, and we're happy to celebrate with you tonight. So today, unfortunately, we have a lot of Park staff members who had a lot of commitments, so that everybody couldn't be here, but I'm excited to celebrate with those who could. And our first staff member is Jenny Drexel. So I told Jenny I would do this, and I'm keeping my promise. Something that we love about Jenny is that no matter what is happening, if you walk in her classroom, she will turn bright red. She's having a little bit now. That was more so when it was her first few years of teaching. She's less red when I come into the classroom now. It's kind of a gentle flush, so we thank her. But you know, the funny part is that sometimes people who blush, it's like, oh, it's a significant lack of confidence. But Jenny couldn't be a more confident and competent teacher in her 5th grade classroom. She started in the district as a basic skills teacher, and I don't want to say I kind of poached her from basic skills, but I lured her to teach 5th grade at Park, and she has done a phenomenal job. She has such an amazing insight into what students need and is able to identify their individual differences and then really bring out what's best in them. I was just in her classroom recently. She has such an amazing sense of humor and warmth, and she makes her kids feel safe. And I can't imagine a better teacher who could say, I make kids feel safe, I make them love learning, and I love what I do. I mean, that's Jenny Drexel right there. Congratulations. And next up is Courtney Vargas. So, Courtney is another fifth grade teacher. We're excited to celebrate with our fifth grade teachers tonight. And she brings something that a lot of elementary school teachers don't come into the profession immediately like loving and getting excited about. Usually you have elementary teachers who are like, I love reading children's literature. Courtney Vargas is passionate about science. Yeah, right? Pretty much every single day, how much she loves science. And it's infectious and contagious to her students too. I was in her classroom, I remember last year, and they were doing the new fall science kits, which are really, really amazing. And her kids had probably a 20 to 30 minute debate on how the sun rises and sets, and they were so into it. And they were changing their theories and working with evidence and just really trying to compel each other to different sides of the argument. And Courtney was just sitting back and like basking in all of it, facilitating this incredible and amazing discussion. And I was just like, what a masterful elementary teacher, what a masterful and engaging person. And that's just one part of what makes her so awesome. So thank you, Courtney, for bringing your love of science, but also your love of kids to Park. I really appreciate it. So I believe, because unfortunately Lynn and Joanne and Chris and Matt couldn't be here to celebrate with us tonight, so I think that is correct. That brings us to the end of Park, but I also have the special opportunity to talk about Rachel Kuzo, who is going to come up right now from Terrell. Woo! So the reason that I asked Dr. Holloway, and he graciously allowed me to speak about Rachel, is because for the past few years, Rachel has actually been a part. And because of some special education needs at Terrell, unfortunately, we had to send her across town. So we thank Rachel for doing that, but we definitely miss her because as a special education teacher, Rachel is the exact type of person you want. She's not only flexible, but she's totally attentive to student needs. And again, as a special ed teacher, that's the kind of person that you want in the classroom. She's calm, she's patient, she's thorough, she's diligent, and anytime you ask her, hey Rachel, can you literally fill in the sentence, she's like, yep, either already done or it's going to be done tomorrow. And she really has brought a lot to Park, and I know that she's bringing a lot to Terrell now. We miss her, but congratulations on tenure, and thanks for serving Park students and now Terrell students so well. And now I'd like to bring up Dr. Kevin Holloway to talk about his one last teacher.
So it's my pleasure to congratulate Thomas Andrews. So, Tom, if you want to come. So again, congratulations to all the recipients of tenure this school year. So Thomas, I remember like yesterday, your demonstration lesson, because it was very student-centered, it was relevant to students' lives. It required kids to use their mathematical, critical thinking skills, and it was inquiry-based. And for that reason, you stand here today. But not that alone. Your mathematical prowess has helped you to surpass 16 observations and countless walkthroughs. So congratulations on joining all greats, and all the best.
Good evening, everyone. So the high school being the biggest school in the district also has the largest number of teachers earning tenure. So I'm going to have the whole group come up, and then we'll go through each one. So I'm going to ask the boys to come up front. And Swati Delusu. And And we also have Josh Jordan and Kelly May who are unable to make it this evening. So we're going to start with Ashley Boise. Just raise your hand when I mention your name. This is Ashley. Ashley is a member of our Health and Physical Education Department, and she is also one of our resident experts on Project Adventure. Project Adventure being, I'm sure you've heard of rope course and zip lines and things like that, but we have a Project Adventure facility at the high school, and she is one of our experts in that curriculum in that area. She is also the advisor of the Student Movement Against Cancer, a co-curricular activity. Lately, she's done some innovative fundraising. She works very closely with the National Honor Society, with the American Cancer Society. And Scott Spencer High School is one of the leading schools in terms of raising money to find a cure for cancer. We've reached well over the $1 million mark over the years. And she's an assistant coach in the girls lacrosse program. It's Ashley Boyce. Lucy is very versatile. She's a member of the science department. Up to this year, she taught only chemistry, but she's certified in both chemistry and biology, which, if you know anything about the sciences, that's rare. It's great to have. She is knowledgeable in her subject area, all of her subject areas, high expectations for her students, and she has very kind demeanor about her. And I should also mention that next week, just illustrating her skill and her expertise, she'll be presenting at the New Jersey Science Convention, I believe, on Tuesday. That's what I always do. Let's have Michael Herman. Michael's a member of our mathematics department. He facilitates a ninth grade course. It's called Algebra and Analytic Geometry. Through his teaching and through his involvement in the Freshman Academy, Michael establishes and builds a very strong foundation for our ninth graders as they move through the math department throughout their high school years. He creates a welcoming environment in his classroom. Michael also volunteers as our chess club advisor. You walk past his room on a particular day when the chess club is meeting, and its classroom is full of students, all engaged very seriously in the game of chess or other games. Next we have Lisa Lesky. Leslie is a member of our World Language Department, and she facilitates all of our Mandarin courses at the high school, and she also works with students at the middle school that are interested in Mandarin. She's the advisor of the Chinese Club. She's also the advisor of the Chinese Honor Society, and right now she's in the process of building an exchange program with China. All of our other languages at the high school have an exchange program, with the exception of Mandarin, because it is the most recent language that we've adopted, but she is working on that, and we're hoping to get that program started soon, which will encourage, of course, more students to take Mandarin at the high school. She has a very inviting demeanor and is a favorite among students and staff. Ms. Leslie. And then our next staff member earning tenure is Teresa Scoot. Teresa is an executive secretary in our counseling office, and she possesses excellent organizational and communication skills. She has positively impacted the daily operation of the counseling office, and all of her work and all of her efforts are, designed to support our students in whatever way possible. She's been a great addition to the counseling office. Congratulations to Teresa Scoot.
I would like to ask Dr. Weatherall to come up. You know, in my new role as superintendent, I am learning the value and importance of delegating. So when I was aware that I was going to be talking about Dr. Weatherall this evening, I reached out to her staff. So the words I'm speaking are not my own. However, I agree with all of them. She would like to proofread them in typical style. So the first thing I think about when I think about Karen is that she's a problem solver. She doesn't waste time complaining about or overthinking anything. She faces it head on to fix it or make the situation better. Karen is very pragmatic and sensible. Dare I say, no nonsense. I'd also consider Karen a determined visionary. She has an idea and she runs with it. Take, for example, the fact that she's teaching coding to fourth graders. To most, that would seem like a very difficult feat, but not for Karen. She doesn't get deterred by challenges she may face. Karen figures out how to make things happen. Karen won't ask you to do something that she wouldn't do herself. She's always outside for bus duty, lunch duty. You feel that you want to help her because she's there for you. She's the first person to say, hello, good morning, hi, and does it with a smile. She takes an interest in her staff as people, not just as teachers, always willing to listen and maybe give advice if needed, even if you might not want it. Whether it's about something involving your class, the school, or something outside of school, she's there for you. Karen tries to inject humor and makes the best of situations that might be stressful or boring. For the park testing, we got folders that said, it's just a walk in the park. She will make a point of thanking you if you did something for her or someone else. She asks for people's input about different things involving the school. Let's just say she gets it. She understands family and responsibilities outside of school. She knows the names of everyone's kids and husbands, and she asks about them when they are sick or having a problem. She cares. She shows up, she texts, and she calls when you are sick or you have a problem. She makes me laugh. So all of those things are very true. She's also a phenomenal educational leader, and I couldn't be more pleased that she has tenure in the district. So Lisa Rabindis will come on now.
Good evening, everyone. Congratulations to all of our newly tenured staff, and I'd like to welcome Jackie Tumolo up forward. Jackie began her career at School One, and they're fist pumping the back. Jackie began her career at School One in our self-contained program, and then moved over to Evergreen in our self-contained program there. Last year, she began as our district's first BCBA, and she supports all of our students and teachers in providing behavioral supports. When the most challenging behaviors arrive, Jackie is there for all of us. Outside of the classroom, Jackie is an amazing person with the students. She is part of our color guard, and as I love to say, we play a flag, and Jackie is amazing with the high schoolers and that. And most importantly, she's really an advocate for our students, and both at School One and at Evergreen, she's led our Autism Awareness Month activities. And we're very glad that Jackie is a part of our department now, not just as a teacher, but also as our BCBA. So congratulations, Jackie. And I'd like to invite Mrs. Sarah Dagny up to the podium. Ask Judy Resnicoff to come forward.
from where the central office has had the good fortune to poach excellent employees. My previous secretary decided to retire in 2016, and my thoughts were, how am I possibly going to replace someone with so much historical knowledge of the district and the job? Judy very quickly was able to step into the position as my assistant and has far exceeded any expectations I might have had. She remains calm with the multitude of calls that come into our office, and as well as with the high pressures of her position, preparing board agendas and minutes, handling board resolutions, student accident insurance, free and reduced lunch applications, the overflow of calls from transportation, which is her favorite, and the multitude of other responsibilities. Most importantly, she is excellent at constantly reminding me of the things I need to complete. Judy's an invaluable member of our district's business office, and I'm delighted she's earning tenure in the district. I would like to introduce Dr. Kulkowski.
Thank you, Mrs. Saradan. So now we read the resolution for the newly tenured staff. Whereas the mission of the Scotch Plains Family Public Schools is to educate and empower our community of individual learners to be successful citizens of the world. And whereas the Scotch Plains Family Board of Education will always expect exceptional performance by staff, will always hire only the most qualified candidates, and will promote the maximum performance of achievement of every student and staff member. And whereas the following teachers, administrators, and support staff are deserving of receiving tenure in the Scotch Plains Family Public Schools this year. School 1 Elementary School, Avery Botcher, Raina Martaccia. Park Middle School, Joanne Betchner, Lynn Sinella, Jennifer Dreschel, Christian Moira Franco, Courtney Noon Vargas, Matthew Ritzko. And Terrell Middle School, Thomas Andrews and Rachel Uzo. Scotch Plains Family High School, Ashley Boyce, Swati Balusu, Michael Herbenhan, Joshua Jordan, Kelly May, Lee Saluski, Teresa Skoob. Administrators, Karen Weatherall. Department of Special Services, Jacqueline Tumolo. Central Office, Michael Davis, Brian Dominguez, Darlene Kendrick, Michelle Napier, and Judy Resnikoff. Now therefore be it resolved that the Scotch Plains Family Board of Education recognizes and congratulates these newly tenured teachers, administrators, and support staff, and offers our support and best wishes as they continue to diligently work with our students and their peers in the Scotch Plains Family Public Schools. Congratulations. Can I have a second? Second. Amy, thank you, Mrs. Weinberg. All those in favor? Aye. I know no one's going to oppose. Motion.
At this time, I'd like to just ask all the principals to stand. So we choose to recognize our principals alongside our tenured staff because October marks National Principal Month. I am lucky to work closely alongside our 8 principals year-round and see firsthand how much they care about their staff, their students, and the communities they serve. This month, we asked them to all share a little bit more about themselves and highlighted them on our website. When asked what they love most about being a principal, they gave answers such as the people I work with and the students that I interact with on a daily basis. I learn something new every day. Being able to experience the joy, wonder, and curiosity that are so alive in young children. Principals are among the hardest working, yet often least recognized individuals in education. Principals set the academic tone for their schools, and it is their vision, dedication, and determination that provide the mobilizing force for achieving student success. Please join me in honoring these unsung heroes for their tireless effort in pursuit of excellence in education.
Whereas the Scotch Plains Family Board of Education has declared the month of October 2019 as National Principals Month in coordination with the efforts of the National Association of Elementary School Principals, the American Federation of School Administrators, and the National Association of Secondary School Principals, working with the U.S. Congress to designate National Principals Month and resolutions thereof. Whereas the vision, dedication, and determination of principals provides the leading force behind any school reform effort. And whereas principals are expected to be educators, visionaries, instructional leaders, assessment experts, disciplinarians, community builders, public relations experts, budget analysts, facility managers, special program administrators, and guardians of various legal, contractual, and policy mandates and initiatives, as well as committed to the education and development of young people, the most valuable resource. And whereas principals will play a vital role in successful implementation of Every Student Succeeds Act, the ESSA, and whereas the principals set the academic tone for their schools and work collaboratively with teachers to develop and maintain high curriculum standards, to develop mission statements, and set performance goals and objectives for schools to achieve educational excellence. And whereas the Scotch Plains Family Board of Education honors such exemplary elementary, public, private, and independent school leaders committing to serving students from pre-kindergarten to 8th grade in their profession. And whereas the Scotch Plains Family Board recognizes outstanding middle level and high school principals who have succeeded in providing high-quality learning opportunities for students, as well as their commendable contributions to the profession. And whereas to honor and recognize the contribution of all school principals and assistant principals at all grade levels to the success of students in New Jersey elementary and secondary schools, and to encourage residents of New Jersey to observe National Principals Month with appropriate ceremonies and activities that promote awareness of schools' leadership role in ensuring that every child has access to high-quality education. Now therefore be it resolved in honor of the service of all elementary, middle level, and high school principals, and to recognize the importance of their school leadership so that every child has access to high-quality education, the month of October 2019 is hereby designated in the state of New Jersey to be National Principals Month. And the Scotch Plains Family Board of Education is especially proud to celebrate with our school principals, Dr. David Heisey, Dr. Jocelyn Dumaresque, Dr. Kevin Holloway, Mr. Scott Bortnick, Dr. Karen Wetherell, Mrs. Colleen Halbert, Dr. Sasha Slocum, and Mr. Justin Fiore, and commend their continued school leadership accomplishments. Congratulations. Can I have a second? Second. Thank you, Mrs. Winkler. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Carried. Motion carries. Trustee Mass?
Just a few more details. First, I would like to thank Patrice Barth, who organized this celebration so well this evening. Also, I'm going to ask for everyone who received tenure this evening to come up for the mandatory photo. And also, we would like the principals to come up for the same reason. In closing, after this, you'll come up. Thank you everyone for coming out tonight to celebrate our tenured teachers and staff. The Board of Education will now convene in executive session. Please stay and continue your celebration. Enjoy the refreshments provided in the back of the room.
Motion to go into exec? Motion. Can I have a second? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. We're in executive session. Congratulations, everyone.
So at this time, I would just like to discuss what we did in executive session. We discussed the personnel issues, suspension and detention report, and the legal status report. So the New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Scotch Plains-Fanwood Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted at the Board of Education offices located at 512 Cedar Street, Scotch Plains, New Jersey. Such notice was provided in written notice and forwarded to the Star-Ledger, the Times, the Township Clerk of Scotch Plains, and the Borough Clerk of Fanwood in the revised annual notice of regularly scheduled meetings adopted on August 29, 2019. This evening, we will have an instructional update. We'll have the 2018-2019 Safety Data Systems and HIB for reporting period of January through June 2019, and the self-assessment scores for July 1, 2018 through June 30th, 2019, presented by Ms. Lisa Moira, the District Social Worker and the Anti-Bullying Coordinator. Good evening.
Okay, so the New Jersey Department of Education updated its reporting system to the student safety data.
Can you pull the mic closer to your mouth? Yeah, we need it to get recorded. And Mason, can you hear her? Okay, thank you.
Okay. The SSCS combines two state testing reporting systems, the EVVRS, which is Electronic Violence and Vandalism Reporting System, along with the SSDS, which is the Safety Data System. Which includes harassment, intimidation, bullying, which includes our investigations as well as our training and programs for the period. The data presented is based on 5 identified categories by the State Department of Education and is entered biannually into their reporting system. This data is reported publicly to the board 2 times a year. We had 8, this is from our period of January to June of 2019. We had 8 incidences of violence, 1 vandalism, 1 weapons, 7 substance, and 7 confirmed HIV. We had a total number of investigations of 25, which is 0.004% of our total district student population at that time. And 7 of those were considered confirmed HIV. The status of all investigations is complete and reported on all of the monthly Board of Ed agendas. One of the components of the law is to also take a look at whether any of our HIV incidences was based on a protected category. We have 1 based on mental, physical, or sensory disability, 1 based on sexual orientation, 1 based on religion, and 1 based on ancestry. It's important to note that this is not an unduplicated number, meaning 1 case could be part of more than 1 protected class. All others were based upon a distinguishing characteristic that is not included within our protected categories. Investigations are all completed by our anti-bullying specialists, which are assigned to each of our buildings. We do have some new anti-bullying specialists from the end of last year into this year. The investigations were completed by Christina Irusi, Amanda Wolf, Jason Cross, Chrissy Krasovsky, April Chastain, Cesare Medley, Kaylin France, myself, Lisa Mora, and Lori Ladowski. You've been provided prior to this meeting with a list of consequences as well as remediations. Just to kind of touch on some of those, some of the consequences imposed for students found to be participating in HIB include parent conferences, detention, assignments, in and out of school suspension, community services, and that's just to name a few. There was a variety of remediations focused on education. I would really like to point out that we tried to do a lot on prevention and education. Some of the classroom lessons provided were on personal space, conflict resolution, kindness, self-advocacy, the impact of rumors, playground etiquette, and digital citizenship. Some of our students also received individual counseling, and some were even referred to our new program, which is the Student Assistance Specialist. Some of those individual counseling Sessions included strategies for de-escalation of online conflict, bullying, conflict resolution, situational awareness, strategies for resolving conflict, empathy education, empowering strategies, self-advocacy, skill building, impact of behavior, problem-solving techniques, self-regulation techniques, and competitive play, positive competitive play. You also received a list of our trainings, and as you can see, there were a number of trainings that focused on the district HIP policy and anti-bullying Bill of Rights, as well as trainings to improve our school climate and our school culture. The trainings are provided into many different groups throughout our district. It includes staff, contracted service providers, substitutes, community members, students, and parents. There is also trainings provided within district. Some of our trainings are out of district and with coordination of our community resources, such as our local police. Our programmings, as you can see, we continue to have a variety of programs across all of our grade levels in every one of our schools. The district continues to provide lessons on anti-bullying, responsive classroom, behavioral expectations, and kindness. We also have an assortment of programs that are fostering leadership and service learning. You will notice some of our programs allow for our older students to provide peer mentorship to younger grades as well. In addition to the diverse programs the district maintains each year, we are also very fortunate, as you will know, that we had a number of assemblies that brought in some new topics this past spring, which was great. That is everything on our programs and trainings and our number for our SSDS. If nobody has any questions, I'll move on to the self-assessment scores.
Does anybody have any questions from the board? Okay, proceed.
As required by state law, the Commissioner of Education has developed a program to grade schools yearly on their efforts to implement anti-bullying Bill of Rights Act. This assessment is designed in a rubric form, and it is to be implemented as a self-assessment. There are 8 core elements in the self-assessment, and within each core element, there is a 1 to 5 indicator on which a school can receive points. Points are given on a scale from does not meet the requirement to exceeds the requirement. The score from each element are then added to create the school grade. Please note that a school that has met all of the law requirements will result in a school grade of 52. This is not based on a scale of 0 to 100. A school that exceeds every requirement in every area will receive a grade of a maximum of 78. This fall, each of our schools engaged their school safety, school climate team in completing the self-assessment. This self-assessment is to reflect back on a period from July 1, 2018 to June 30th, 2019. Tonight, I will provide you with the resulting scores. Our school scores range from a 64 to a 73, and you all should have received the final outline. These scores reflect that our schools mark themselves consistently in the meets or exceeds requirements in many areas, and we believe that this is a depiction of how we are moving in a systematic manner as a district and our programming and procedures related to harassment, intimidation, and bullying. I'm going to briefly go through each of the core elements with the self-assessment. Element 1 looks at our HIP programs, our approaches, and our initiatives around HIP. Element 2 looks at our training in both our the law as well as our school district policy. Element 3 looks at how other staff instruction and training programs, as I have just previously reported. Element 4 looks at our curriculum and instruction on HIB and related information and skills. Element 5 looks at HIB personnel. This assures that each building has appointed the anti-bullying specialist who meets at least twice a year with the district anti-bullying coordinator. Element 6 looks at the school level HIB incident reporting procedures, and Element 7 looks at our investigation procedures. And then Element 8 looks at our actual reporting. We've been able to utilize this process to review our implementation of the harassment, intimidation, and bullying law. We continue to focus much of our energy on educating staff, students, and parents, as well as continuing our ongoing implementation of curriculum and support. And I think that these are positively reflected in our school assessment scores. If you refer to your score sheet, you'll see that Brenner's total score, again, keeping in mind maximum is 78, and if the school meets the expectation, it's at 52. Brenner was at a 68. Coles was at 73. Evergreen at 68. McGinn at 72. School 1 also at 72. Park Middle School at 73. Terrell Middle School at 71. And the high school at 64. Anybody have any questions?
Mrs. Winkler?
I am pleased to see that we meet the goals for all of our schools. But my question is about the high school, which every year when we score this seems to show up with the lowest score among our schools. My question is that a factor of the way the high school works with the classes and the schedules and just the logistics of it, or is there more that we could be doing there to bring that score up?
So the way the score is, as I said, it is a self-assessment, so it's functioning on a rubric. Each school has a school safety and climate team that sits and meets, and they kind of self-reflect and decide, how they would rate themselves. Mm-hmm. To meet expectation or exceed, there's actually just sometimes it can be a very different component, like bringing in law enforcement in for a program could make that a little bit of an adjustment. I think some of our elementary schools have a little bit more opportunity with those programs that can change that score a little bit. But we do, as the anti-bullying specialists, meet with me twice a year as well, and we will at our meeting be going over all of these and discussing what maybe are other schools doing that could be implemented across the board throughout the district.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Okay. Okay. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
At our next meeting on October 29th, we'll have the annual audit 2018-2019 by Ms. Kathy Mantell from the Savaccia and Company, as well as the district assessment report. But at this time, in accordance with the Scotch Plains Fanwood Public Schools Bylaw 01640165, the meeting will be open for 15 minutes for public comments. Maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers addressing the superintendent items, business functions, and other board business will be heard first. If time remains, speakers may address other matters. When you come to the podium, please state your name and the town in which you reside. Seeing no one at this time, we'll move on to the committee reports. Does anybody want to present a committee report? Mr. Murray?
Sure, I will. Facilities and Finance Committee report. We met on Monday the 14th. Have a handful of items to go through. They were all in the report that was sent out, but if you have questions, feel free to let me know. So new Terrell lockers were installed. I think feedback was that the bigger lockers are better. They can actually put their book bags in there, so that seems to be a positive. School 1 side, windows are supposed to be substantially complete by tomorrow. Contractor seems to be behind, so we're monitoring that closely and figuring out what next steps are there. There's a balance in our XX extraordinary aid that we're evaluating and factoring into future recommendations for where to apply that. There has been a request to replace one of our aged buses. I believe it's coming to an end of life at the end of this year.
Yes.
So the thought was that we should probably start the process now of replacing that bus. So the cost for a new school bus, as we've been through this probably over the past 3 or 4 years, as we've been trying to kind of stretch out the fleet a bit, since the end of life is, I think, was it 15 years is the end of life, and they were all coming due at similar times, so we were trying to space this out a little bit so it's not a burden on the budget in the future. So that'll come out of 2018-19 excess extraordinary aid. The ADA playground at Coles is complete, I believe. The ground crew is removing the fence and filling in some of the gaps, but should be open for business
Tomorrow.
tomorrow. So that's positive. We reviewed the comprehensive maintenance plan for 2018-2021 that has to get submitted to the DOE. We received a list of potential capital projects for review and consideration. We also received the draft budget calendar, a draft assumptions document, and the last item was roofing projects from the summer of 2018. Apparently, there are repairs that were not completed by the contractor, therefore the remaining balance will not be paid, so there will be nothing due to the contractor for the remainder of the project. That completes facilities and finance. Any questions on anything we spoke about?
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Any other reports? Mrs. Winkler?
Report to give. Curriculum Committee met yesterday. We heard about a science research proposal from Gita Faria, our science supervisor. She told us about that 2 of our science teachers from the high school had participated in online professional development over the summer through a massive open online course learning about a program called Biograph 2.0, which was created through a collaboration with MIT and the University of Pennsylvania and funded by the National Science Foundation as a program to help students understand complex system ideas by immersing them in these interactive systems through the program. At the same time, it also serves as professional development to help teachers build competencies for teaching about complex systems, providing a more meaningful professional development experience. As MIT and Penn are piloting this program, our participation would involve our students completing 2 surveys, one about their thought processes in science and one that would be content-based regarding what they learn as part of the program. And there would be consent forms for parents because the surveys would be used for their research for MIT and Penn. Also, representatives from both would come and visit the classrooms to observe the lessons in action and give feedback to the teachers. The Biograph 2.0 program would be used as a supplement to our existing curriculum with which it aligns to dive deeper and give students a better understanding of complex systems. Biograph 2.0 gives students the ability to see and model these systems in a more complex way, including creating and running simulations, and it should add a computational thinking and systems thinking layer to what we're already doing in the classroom. Then Kate Rosander spoke to us about a preschool screening tool. She told us about something called Early Screening Inventory, which is a tool that would help identify students who may be at risk for delays or learning difficulties. The teachers found that Teaching Strategies Gold is a more ongoing portfolio that they create throughout the year in order to craft a picture of each student. But this early screening inventory would be a more discrete picture of the student right at the start of schooling. It would not be used to determine or deny placement. It would only be used to identify students who may be outside the normal range in one way or another. The screening consists of objects and tasks. She came in with little blocks, and she showed something about building a bridge with 3 blocks, by putting 2 near each other and stacking a third one on top. And some of the assessments are, can a child do that? Certain drawings, how they would draw a picture of a person, and So these tasks look at fine motor skills, cognitive abilities. They use blocks, images, drawings, objects. Only our general education students would be screened. Obviously, ones who are special education already have been screened in some way and are already receiving other. Anyway, so depending on the screening outcomes, students would either just pass and be put into class or possibly be flagged to be rescreened 8 weeks later, noting that the day that they are screened may not be the best day or time for them, and so 8 weeks later when they've been in class and whatever and are more comfortable, maybe they will perform better on these same assessments. And if not, or if something is particularly standing out, they would be referred to the child study team for additional evaluation. Then Dr. Heisey came in and spoke about the high school block scheduling. So after 3 years of investigating different block scheduling plans in different districts, the committee that was made up of students, staff, and parents have agreed that the AB block format with a unit lunch makes the most sense for our high school. The benefits of block scheduling would be longer periods allowing for greater depth of instruction, including allowing for differentiated instruction, fewer classes per day, so students would have less to prepare for each day in terms of homework and tests and whatnot. It would only be half as many classes. More usable instruction time with less loss due to opening and closing of class. Less time in the hallways. The unit lunch provides extra time for extra help and also for possibly co-curricular activities. An easier transition to colleges which use a similar schedule. It provides a slower, calmer day, and many schools that have gone to block schedules report increased academic achievement and reduced disciplinary issues. So we're going to pilot the AB block schedule Friday, November 15th through Friday, November 22nd. This will give us 3 cycles of AB days. I don't know if I didn't really describe it in my report to the board, but block schedule with AB days would be there's the day A, which has 4 classes with lunch in the middle, and then day B has 4 different classes with lunch in the middle, and then back to day A, and then back to day B. So starting on a Friday and ending on a Friday gives us 6 days, which would be 3 full cycles, Class A, B, and Class A and B. So the classes, each day would have 4 77-minute periods with a 46-minute lunch between the second and third periods. The first and fourth periods will each have an additional minute added to them for announcements and other administrative tasks for start of day and close of day. For the purposes of the pilot, there will be a study period during the third period on day B. And this study period is a good time for advising, counseling, extra help from teachers, making up missed work or tests, and also for teachers to collaborate with each other. Although if and when the district should move to a full year AB block schedule, this study period would move to different periods on different days for each student, as well as the things listed above. This study period could also be used for online learning, club meetings, if student schedules were created ahead of time with that in mind, or in place of the current AM PE classes that some students take. The lunch and/or study period could also be used as a sort of genius hour where students and staff, anyone who was interested, could teach whatever skills or knowledge they have that they'd like to share. Some examples that we talked about were like drawing anime or knitting or whatever. After the pilot this November, staff and students will be taking surveys to help identify any issues or resources that will need further consideration before trying to fully implement this. So that's kind of where that's at. And then we got a view of the district testing report. Regina Botsford and Elizabeth McKenna and Sarah Cayley spoke to us. There will be a fuller report given to the board as a whole, but at least as we were looking at it, we could see that overall our scores in both language arts and math are above the state averages, with few exceptions. Liz spoke to us a bit about language arts. She was pleased to note for the first time in 4 years there was no dip in the 8th grade scores, although our 5th grade seems to be a place to watch as we're moving into adding reading workshop as well as the writing workshop in grades K to 5, so hopefully this will improve performance. Our teachers will get professional development on writing workshop this year, and then professional development on reading workshop next year. So we're hoping to build a literacy culture in our district. And then Sarah spoke to us about math. She said we're working on creating a culture where our students want to be challenged and to persevere, focusing now on how to spiral the curriculum at the high school so it builds each year on itself. Also focusing on enrichment and basic skills programs. And we're exploring how to proceed with Algebra 2, making sure we're aligned with what's required by the state, as well as what's on the test. We're focusing on our K to 5 math program now with an in-depth study this year and next year to reevaluate what we're doing and determine if we want to make any changes there. We continue to have some achievement gaps, both cultural and socioeconomic. We're hoping to shrink these gaps by increasing student choice, reading options for these students, including building our library collections to include more books by and about people of color, and by increasing the diversity of experiences through different lenses across the curriculum. And that's just sort of a really, really condensed summary of what we heard yesterday. Our next meeting is November 12th, and recommended action at this time is to approve the use of the early screening inventory for our incoming pre-K students, as was presented to us by Kate Rosander.
Mrs. Winkler, was the test for the AB day going to be the entire school, one grade, or a certain?
Whole school. Whole school's going to do it. I was curious to know how the whole school was going to have lunch at once. I kind of felt like maybe there wasn't really the space for that, but Dr. Heisey said we're going to get creative and we're going to make it work, and it's going to happen. So,
and it's a longer lunch hour.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's almost double, I think, what they're getting now. So
Can't wait to hear the results. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mrs. Winkler. Does anybody else have any questions?
I do. First of all, thank you for reporting out about the curriculum committee. I apologize for not being able to make the meeting, but I appreciate that. I'm really excited that Dr. Heisey came and gave an update about the block scheduling, because I know we've been hearing about it for a couple of years, and I know it's been a really thoughtful process that involving site visits and multiple levels of staff and community involvement and giving their input. And I just want to point out also that it came up in our strategic planning process, about student wellness and mental wellness and reducing student stress. So I'm really glad to see that this is moving forward. I just wanted to know if Dr. Heisey talked at all, and I'm not sure whether you would know this or if he did, about how they're preparing students for the pilot, whether students were given any background about this change, and the reasons for it, what it means. And then in addition to that, if he talked about, if the pilot does go well, what a time frame might be in terms of implementation.
I did not ask him about how he was prepping the
Well,
students.
actually, he mentioned that he was going in to talk to
that's right.
all the PE classes.
Okay.
So he'll be speaking to every single group of students in the school in advance.
Okay.
There were students on these committees, as well as parents and staff, and the timeline he said was.
He said that he was hoping if things were successful and there were no bumps or anything else, that we might be able to implement it starting next September.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
But that, he was prepared that if things come up, if there's any issues that are outstanding that really need to be addressed and can't be between now and September, if we have to, we'll go another year.
Mm-hmm.
So,
He's also created packets to send home
Okay,
for both students and
Right,
parents.
for the
So
parents.
he has,
to explain.
he has a communication plan, so it's not a surprise, yes.
Thank you so much.
Anybody else? Thank you, Mrs. Winkler. Any other reports from any committees? Seeing none, we'll move on to letters from the board. We have one LET dated October 16th, 2019, from Carol Kenyon, asking that civics be restored to the social studies curriculum and asking for information to address BOE publicly. Superintendent's office is following up.
Yes, and I have a little bit of follow-up to that, if I might share.
Please do.
Robin Broadbent, who is in the back of the room, had a conversation with Noel Baxter, just to have a global answer to this question, because it also came up last June. So Noel shared that we address civics through the social studies curriculum, K-12, in ways that is developmentally appropriate. For example, in K1 and 2, students learn about how people can make positive change in their communities and work together to solve problems. In 3rd grade, the students learn specifically about local government, participate in a mock town hall meeting, and begin to learn the basics of how the government is structured. In 4th and 5th, topics related to civics is integrated in the study of geography and history. The bulk of the students of American government happens in 7th grade, where most of the year is spent on civics, including rights and responsibilities of citizenship and the Constitution. In 9th and 10th grade, civics is integrated into the study of U.S. history. So that's a very broad answer to a specific question about civics, but I assure our community member that civics is as important to us in the curriculum as it is to her.
Thank you, Dr. Mast. That brings us to the superintendent's report. Dr. Mast.
All right. So 1S, I move that the Board of Education approves the revised out-of-district placement for the 1920 school year. We have 2 where there's a placement at the Developmental Learning Center.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining?
Abstain.
Okay. Motion carries.
I move that the Board of Education affirms the superintendent's decision of HIB case 050-1981 presented in the September 24th, 2019 executive session.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Any question or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining?
Abstain.
2 abstain. Mr. Murray and Ms. Mitchell. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Motion carries.
Move the Board of Education approves the following field trips. Terrell Middle School will be going to the New York Philharmonic concert, bringing 137 grade 5 band students. And Terrell Middle School media specialist Philip Yap will be taking 8th grade book chatter group to the New York Public Library and Bryant Park and Grand Central Station.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries.
Move that the Board of Education acknowledges the receipt of the report presented by the superintendent on the enrollment numbers. I believe you received the enrollment number report
At our seats, yes.
Next week.
at your seats.
You want it now, or you want it next week?
Next week.
Okay.
Can we ask questions now? Or?
Yes.
I just was curious when I was looking at it that it looks like across the board pretty much if they're 65, 66, 64, whatever number of students, in the 60s that it's generally 3 sections, but then there are a couple of cases, 2 cases where they're 4. And I was just curious why that is. And it's in the same school.
I think sometimes it happens because people move in and the classes have an unexpected growth. Sometimes just the way that the principal distributes the class, they need a smaller section at usually a younger grade. But we do try to keep the sections and the numbers consistent across the district.
Okay.
Good.
Next.
So, move that the Board of Education acknowledges the receipt of the district goals that I had submitted to board members on September 20th. A number of board members gave me feedback on those goals, and I'm revising the document for the next meeting. At the next meeting, approval for the SSDS and the HIB for reporting periods of January through June 2019, as we received the instructional update this evening. For 7S, move the Board of Education approves the harassment, intimidation, bullying self-assessment for the 2018-2019 presented on October 17th.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Winkler. Thank you, Mr. Murray. Any question or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries.
And move that the Board of Education approves the use of our early screening inventory for pre-K. That was included in Mrs. Winkler's report.
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Mrs. Winkler. Thank you, Mrs. Boroff. Any question or discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries.
Move that the Board of Education approves the superintendent's recommendations for personnel on the personnel report dated October 17th.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Winkler. Thank you, Mr. Murray. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Roll call.
Mrs. Saradaki, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Winkler?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mrs. Bauer?
Yes.
Mrs. Boroff?
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mrs. Suriani?
Yes.
Dr. Kulikowski?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Mast. And that brings us to business functions. Mrs. Saradaki?
Yes, I'd like to group the ones we're voting on, if that's okay.
Sure.
I'll start. 1 BUS, I'm asking the board to approve the superintendent's recommendations for staff training reimbursements on the reports dated October 17th, 2019. 5 BUS, I'm asking the board to acknowledge receipt of the 2020-2021 tentative budget calendar. 6 BUS, I'm asking the board to authorize submission of the 2019 to 2021 comprehensive maintenance plan and M1 reports. 7 BUS, I'm asking the board to approve the purchases listed from Apple, Ocean Computing Group, and DyneTech, and that would be under our lease purchase. And 11 BUS, I'm asking that the board approves the non-public school technology initiative program agreements. Well, it's actually the expenditure for the JCC of Central New Jersey in the amount of $615.60. And 13 BUS, I'm asking the board to approve transportation agreement with Somerset County Educational Commission. And what the agreement, you all should have a copy, is that we pay them a 4% premium, which is standard. That's what we do with Union County Ed Services on any bids that they're able to obtain for us.
and the cost of the route will be, this is the first time in a while we've used Somerset Educational Services Commission, but it was the only way. We had to go out to other commissions to try to get a bid for a student, and the bid they received was $330 per day for transportation for us. So I'm asking for board approval on those items.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Winkler. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Boroff. Any questions or discussions about these business functions Mrs. Saradaki just read? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. On items, I'll ask for approval at the next meeting. I believe that's October 29th.
Yes.
2 BUS, that would be the disbursement listings for the month of September 2019. 3 BUS, I'll be asking for the board to acknowledge receipt of the district security and fire drill reports for September 2019. 4 BUS, there may be related services by that time, and currently we don't have any. And 8 BUS, I'll be asking for approval of the schools that will be serviced under the 2019-20 Non-Public School Technology Initiative Program. And 9 BUS, I'll be asking for the board to acknowledge receipt of the board secretary reports, treasurer of school fund reports, and budget adjustments. And 10 BUS, the bill list for September 23rd through October 25th. And 12 BUS, I'll be asking for the purchase of the school bus to replace the last full-size bus that we have that needs to be purchased, and the expiration of that bus is this year. And we want to go ahead and place the order. School buses take between 3 and 4 months to get. So our current spare bus is having some difficulties, and I don't want it to run into a great expense to keep it going. And that's the end of my report.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Saradaki. Board policies. Is there any board policies? None at this time. New board business. Any new board business? No. Other board business. Any requests to attend workshops? Any workshop reports?
I wanted to mention that the Garden State Coalition of Schools is meeting on Wednesday at 11 a.m. in room 401. So if you're going to the conference this week and you want to go to Garden State, right after that at 12 o'clock will be a main session with legislatures that Garden State is also co-sponsoring. So both of those are on Wednesday at 11 and at 12. At the last Garden State Coalition of Schools meeting, the the guest speaker was from NJDOE, speaking about diversifying the teacher workforce, and especially related to new teacher candidates and recruitment and so forth. And they're co-sponsoring a workshop that's coming up November 1st. I'm sure they'll be talking about it at the workshop next week. So there were also legislative updates. I think the main overriding thing is people are busy because the elections are coming up. So, but once the election's held, watch out. Kind of, there's a lot kind of hanging and things that might pass very quickly.
Thank you, Mrs. Bauer.
And you all should all be getting your emails now, are you?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
I'll have you added, Carrie.
Okay, moving on to approval of minutes. At our next meeting, we will be approving September 12th, open agenda meeting for executive session, September 12th, open agenda board meeting, September 21st, self-assessment meeting, September 24th, regular public meeting, executive session, and September 24th, regular public meeting.
in accordance with the Scotch Plains Fanwood Public Schools Bylaws 0164-0165. The meeting will be open for 15 minutes for public comments, maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers addressing the superintendent items, business functions, and other board business will be heard first. If time remains, speakers may address other matters. When you come to the podium, please state your name and the town in which you reside. Seeing no one? Any remarks for the good of the order? I know I want to welcome Karen Mitchell for replacing Dr. Clancy. You were sworn in earlier this evening, and I welcome you for giving of your time and coming out for the position.
Thank
Welcome.
you. Happy to be here.
Thank you.
Dr. Mast asked me to speak about the commissioner's convocation that I attended on October 8th at Parsippany High School. And so I'll just give a brief recap. So the commissioner started out by speaking about the year in review and saying that 2018-19, the department used what they call DOE 2.0 as its blueprint. This was their version of a systems upgrade, and they focused on support, equity, the student as the end user, and innovation. And some of the accomplishments they discussed were that they strengthened internal controls and processes. They focused on a student-centered and customer-focused approach. Every county now has a county superintendent, where a few years ago a number of them were removed. CUSAC has been revised, making it more that the districts have the tools and the resources available and not just focus on audits and a gotcha type of thing. And then also developing their social media plan, and digital leadership is where they need to be with Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all those types of things. He then introduced what they're going to focus on in their new blueprint as far as something called design thinking. And instead of thinking of design as something specifically about making things look beautiful or cleanly, things like that, thinking about a process to come up with new ideas and to help the department understand people, to be more human-centered, and what the needs of the customers are. Trying to find out what the customer's needs are in a more intimate way, and then using that for the next idea or service that they can provide. So they want to use design thinking to focus on the intent, the why, and the end user experience when they're developing their programs, their initiatives, their services. And he spoke about how it's really about collaborating, taking bold actions, looking at the system and making changes, prioritizing needs, creating different programs, and even though it may be the same organization, change the system, make it different. Then he discussed what they're going to focus on in their new blueprint for the next 3 years, and their mission statement, which is that the DOE is going to support schools, educators, and districts to ensure that all of New Jersey students have equitable access to high-quality education and achieve academic excellence. He tried to make a distinction between equality and equity, stating that equality is the assumption that everyone benefits from the same supports, where equity is everyone gets the supports they need. And the cause of the inequity needs to be addressed, and taking down the systematic barrier will provide equity. The vision is going to become a model organizational system to strengthen teaching, leading, and learning, and to increase educational equity for all students. And the 3 goals he set out for the department is by 2022 to form the DOE into a mission-driven, values-focused organization providing collaborative and innovative supports through efficient and transparent systems, to strengthen teaching, leading, and learning through diversity, training, and innovation, and to ensure all students have equitable access to resources, quality programming, and post-secondary opportunities. And then he had each of his assistant commissioners do a brief overview of what they're doing in their area and what their goals are.
Very good. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I just want to mention that we do have 1 National Merit Scholar, and we have 9 Commended Scholars, and one of them is our cameraman, Mason Glad, in the back of the room. We know that we will be meeting these students in the future. There will be multiple opportunities to recognize this honor.
Do we want to read the names?
You can.
Sure. Our semifinalist is Christopher Suchia. Commended students are Catherine Buren, Karina Delcour, Mason Glod, Gabrielle Kahn, Irina Rudzina, Olivia Sheikh, Julia Solsky, Eunice Toslu, and Jonathan Yu. Thank you, Dr. Mast. Nice job. Anybody have any other comments? Then we'll move on to our...
Regina.
Oh, Regina, go right ahead, sorry. You gotta wave bigger next time.
This Monday, while our children were home with their families, staff were here at work. We did have a very successful professional day of learning for our staff members. Topics were broad and deep. Some of them were preparing for the block schedule pilot, the logistics, and also strategies of actually teaching in a block schedule, which differ a bit from teaching in a more traditional schedule at a high school. There were sessions for kindergarten through grade 5 in writing, and as you know, that's a new initiative for us this year. There were sessions on adolescent eating disorders, perspectives consciousness in social studies, which is the idea of learning to take on different perspectives of various issues. So that was just a sample. And coming closely on the heels of that professional day, Tuesday, November 5th is Election Day. That is a half day for students. Our elementary teachers will be holding conferences. Our middle school and high school teachers will be having a half professional day in the afternoon then as well. So we have, again, I do want to thank the board for supporting that kind of professional work, because it is what keeps our program of studies alive and vibrant for our kids, and that's what we're here for. So thank you.
Thank you, Regina. Anyone else? Okay. Upcoming meetings will be Tuesday, October 29th, for our next regular public meeting at 7:30 for executive session, 8 o'clock for the public, and then Thursday, November 14th, Thursday, November 21st, and then the last meeting for the 2019 will be December 19th, 2019. At this time, can I please have a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Mr. Murray. Second, Mrs. Winkler.